little bit about ourselves before we get started. My name is Renee Adair. I'm with Successful Projects. We were founded in 2001, and our passion is project management and to help our students succeed at building critical skills needed to be better project managers and achieve positive project outcomes. We offer a certification in project management, both for foundations or project management professional preparation, exam preparation. We offer workshops, skill building products, and other PMP prep related opportunities such as this webinar series. Your instructor for today is Frank Saladis. You're in for a great treat. He's a great instructor. He's the owner of Blue Marble Enterprises, a consulting firm that provides training and consulting on professional project management. He's also the founder of IPM Day, a day of recognition for the contributions of project managers around the world. He has received various honors from Global PMI, including PMI Fellow in 2013, Person of the Year in 2006, and a Distinguished Contribution Award in 2015. He has also published various books in leadership and project management and is an internationally known presenter. So I'm really excited for him to be here with us today to share his expertise and to help you prepare for your PMP exam. So let's get started. I'll pass it over to you, Frank.
I got my PMP in 1992, and my background is with AT&T, 28.5 years there, and also a couple of years at Cisco Systems, and then formed my own little consulting company and do a lot of training and consulting and PMP training, CAPM training, plus leadership and other forms of training, including creativity and innovation, risk management, and an assortment of other things, including brand recognition. And I've spoken at, since 1993, I've spoken at almost all of the PMI World Congresses in North America, with the exception of maybe one or two. And I think I did 5 or 6 congresses in EMEA. So I've got a lot of background in various aspects of project management. My background is in IT and telecom with a little splash of construction. And I've been through every single version of the PMBOK guide from before it was even the PMBOK guide, right up until I recently obtained and was looking through the 6th edition, which the exam will convert over to on March 26th of next year. So those of you that have been studying with the 5th edition PMBOK guide, you really want to make sure that you get your exam scheduled before March 26th. And depending on where you're at, there may be some concerns about getting a seat, because this is the time of the year when everybody's in a rush to get it, because they all put it off until the last minute. And it takes a little bit longer to get your applications processed. If you have if you are audited by PMI, and that is certainly a possibility, that's going to extend the amount of time that you're going to need before you can actually sit for the exam. And then you have to find a spot where there will be seats available for you to take the exam. So we're kind of getting into that typical 4-year crunch period at PMI when it comes to the exams. So this course, the way we're going to handle it is to give you kind of a little bit more, not a high level, but kind of a detail. This is what you need to know, which is what you should be studying. Give you some examples of types of questions that will appear on the exam, where you need to concentrate your study, and also some tips and techniques to make sure that you, as you read the PMBOK guide, that you'll be able to understand what they're saying in the PMBOK. Sometimes the PMBOK is not necessarily the clear in terms of its explanations, and I think it's important to note that the exam is roughly about 60% based on the current PMBOK guide, and that other 40% is a combination of things that are related to project management but are not in the PMBOK, such as things like motivational theory, the importance of leadership, and some other details that we'll talk about as we go through the study material. And the thing to keep in mind is, as you are studying and reading the PMBOK, that the PMBOK guide was intended to be an overall big picture of project management in general. It's not specific to any particular industry. The exam is not specific to any particular industry. It is what is referred to as good practices in project management, some of which you will probably are not doing in your organization, and that's okay. But to keep in mind is that whatever you're doing in your organization in terms of procedures, processes, tools, and things like that, and things that your organization has developed, we need to kind of step above that, kind of get above that, and not answer questions on the exam based on what your company specifically does. That you want to answer questions on the exam from a perspective of what project managers would typically do in the broad range that we're going to be talking about. So don't answer questions that you feel would be addressing something that you have experience on that is specific to your organization. You have to kind of look at things from a very, very high level, generic perspective, and from what the PMBOK is describing in the form of processes. So those are some things that you really, really need to think about. Okay, we're going to go into kind of like PMP exam study items. And I decided to do it this way because I think I'd like you to get conditioned to what you should be studying and how you should be studying. And then we're going to talk specifically about the knowledge areas. And then from there we'll get into some sample questions and things like that, and start to address your concerns. So I'm going to switch over. I should be sending you some documents that are what we'll call, I call them PMP study tips, okay? And those study tips are like a condensed versions of the PMBOK guide with some specifics and things that are not in the PMBOK that you really do need to know. So it will give you kind of a very concentrated way of reading, getting ready for the exam and studying. All right, so what I'm going to do here is, actually, let me just ask a quick question. I know, have you read the PMBOK guide? Is that something that you have actually done? You've got some experience in reading it, you at least understand it to some extent. Hopefully you've read it at least once. Just want to make sure I know just where we're at in terms of your study. Okay, so if you could post something as a chat, or yeah, just want to see where you're at in terms of the PMBOK. Okay, yeah, so Sarah says, yep, read it. So the bottom line to the PMBOK guide, most people will tell you, is you probably have to read it about 3 times. The Dave Long says, have a copy here and study before. Great. If you have a copy, that's going to be helpful because I'm going to refer to things in the PMBOK, and I encourage you to highlight things in the PMBOK and maybe write some notes in the margins and try to make the PMBOK more of a study tool than simply a reference. You want to be able to look at your notes. You're going to want to look at things that I'm going to suggest you really should pay attention to, and you want them to kind of jump off the page a little bit. So if you have a way to underline, highlight, make a note. My slides here. So this is it's going to take a couple of minutes to go through this, and there are some examples, and you probably want to take some notes on this. But what I wanted to do is some study tips and some formula review. A lot of people get concerned about, well, what am I going to see on the exam in terms of formulas and calculations and things like that? What I can tell you is